Well, I did the biggest podcast I've ever done yesterday, 83 minutes. 83 minutes. So the least I can do is give you the shortest podcast ever today. It's only fair. It's no cowardice, it's consideration. You give me your time, you trust me to look after your ears, and I haven't. I abused them yesterday, so the best I can do is take it easy on your eardrums a day and just make this the shortest pod I have ever done. I mean, it was it was a lot of stuff to discuss. By dint of a preview pod, I mean the transfer window didn't shut until 11 o'clock on Friday night, so I had to review an entire summer's transfer window for Rangers. All the folk that went out, all the folk that come in, and you actually have trouble if you try to rhyme off the top of your head the amount of people that we let go and then the amount of people that we brought in. You'll not be able to manage it. You'll forget somebody. You forget two or three players. Just shows you there was a lot of stuff. I didn't discuss hardly any of it. I only discussed the Albanian fella really that came in, but I'm trying to waste time here. The what's the European the European draw, the Europa League, 36 teams. What's that all about? I was discussing how UEFA were just ripping the absolute mick in this whole thing about a European Super League. Oh, we get rid of that. No, didn't it? It's here. It's here. There are no called cups anymore. It used to be the Cup Winners' Cup, the European Cup, the UEFA Cup, and now it's all leagues, no Conference League, Europa League, Champions League. It's been Champions League for 30 odd years, but the whole point is that they're moving it along. But what I forgot to mention was the fact that they've taken Europe out of it as well. It used to be European Cup, Winners' Cup, UEFA. I mean, they still apply the UEFA acronym to the competitions now, and it used to be the UEFA Cup, but they're removing Europe from it. Alexander Cheferin, he got into the top job in UEFA on a ticket of maybe one day having the Champions League final in New York. That was a boast. That was a campaign strategy. I'll have the Champions League final and the European Cup final. He's taken it out the continent that it belongs to. And why else am I raging about that? Why can I keep talking about this? Talking about it all in the game. Aye, that's bad. That's they're trying to. It's Saudi Arabia. It's all about money. These guys. I mean, you want the guys to be able to make money, so the money can bleed down into, bringing on kids into the game, no facilities for the teams and all that. And the fans should be in the most comfortable and safest possible stadiums. You want the folk that are in charge of it, but it's just solely about making money, as much money as possible. And Saudi Arabia is starting to outbid Europe for top players. And UEFA's going to have to start trying to bring them in. And then they're going to try to bring. There's money. There's somewhere with top money. They want to get it in to the family. So they're going. It's just a matter of time. Champions League finals in New York. Suss that out. They're not too bothered. Let's start having Saudi teams involved in the Champions League as well, and then we'll just basically move everybody into the biggest league possible. So I was raging about that, the actual format change itself, and then I had to discuss. But it was 8 teams. Rangers had drawn 8 teams in Europe, so I had to go through how the 8 teams had ended up in the group stage. Some of them losing the playoff, the Champions League playoff round, some of them getting there by dint of finishing 5th in League and some by winning the FA Cup. That kind of discuss them and how many times Rangers had played them before. And Rangers had met all but one, I think, of the clubs in Europe before. And how many times had we played them in the past and what were the scores. And it took up a lot of time. And that was before we even looked ahead to the old game at Parkhead. Rangers apparently were playing an Old Firm game this weekend, and apparently that's a big deal. So I would do it. It should have been 3 separate half-hour pods, but I tried to squeeze it into the one pod there yesterday, and it was 83, an hour and 23 minutes. That's too much yet. So you'll be quite happy that I'm going to make this the shortest pod I have ever done in my life. Just go to see what we can do here. The Celtic fans. Gersnet, make sure you watch Gersnet tonight. It's been out live. I'm recording this while Gersnet's actually on live. But the same as me, make sure you're on YouTube anyway. Gersnet, all one word. Get in there. It's the best Rangers pod. It's the best football pod. It's just the best pod in the whole world of pods. The flagship show, 9:30 every Sunday night. It goes out live on YouTube, but it'll be there. If you missed it, you can. If you haven't already watched it, get in there and watch that. It's Brian, and he'll probably be hosting. It's Craig and Stuart, so that'll be a good pod. It's good as it possibly can be in the circumstances, but they'll rip the bits. They'll rip it to pieces, get it dissected, and give you their opinions on everything that happened today and transfer markets and windows and and things like that. And folk keeps, I'm quite flattered that anybody's noticed. I've not been on Jersnet this season so far. A few folk have said, "Why are you on Jersnet?" I'm like, well, and I will be on Jersnet. I'm going to be Jersnet next month. No, next month. It's not next month. It's this month. This is September now, isn't it? This is September. August. Beautiful day yesterday, wasn't it? Beautiful yesterday. Last day of August. It was like summer was saying Jurio, and here we are today. It's absolutely piddling down as I talk to you right now, and it's more like winter than autumn. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. It's more like season of rotting fruit and missed chances and missed tackles and missed transfers and missed investments, and it's not good. It's not good. But folks, but I'm going to be on Jersnet later on this month. I think we're playing Dundee United Tannadice next, and that'll be fun. I think I'm on the preview pod for that on the Friday, and that's no for another 2 weeks. But 2 whole weeks to stew and marinate in what happened today, and that's going to be great. It's going to be a really short 2 weeks. Going to really enjoy that. Well, I might as well take this opportunity to. I think it's an open secret, isn't it? It's known. It's been talked about in the canteen and everything. I get suspended. I've been suspended for Jersnet for. I'm open. I like to be open about these things. I want to apologise about it officially before I go back on, so I will be allowed back on. Jersnet, they've got sponsors and that, so I was allowed to. It was something that happened towards the end of last season. I was still allowed to carry on in my job, and I did the preview, the reaction pod after the Scottish Cup final. Was doing stuff right up to the very last kick of the ball of the season, but by that point there was already a committee, looking into investigating everything that went on and reviewing the evidence and trying to come up with a judgment, and that was reached kind of halfway through the summer, and it was decided that I should be suspended on full pay for a month, and that's me. That suspension is up now, and I will be back on just tentatively at first. I'll just get worked back in. And I'd just like to apologise because I understand. It was a full disclosure. You'll remember it. Really, everybody knows what I'm talking about. I was on a Friday night preview pod with Brian. I can't even remember what game we were previewing. It's so traumatic everything that happened thereafter, how wrong it went. I was discussing whatever, and about being happy, and there was a line about me snorting lines of cocaine off the butt cheeks of a Filipino bellboy. I was snorting lines of cocaine off the butt cheeks of a Filipino bellboy, and that was just obviously instantly complaints. I mean, Brian, I can see the look in his face as I said it. This is live on it. You don't get a chance to take. There's no takesy backsies, as they say. It's live on air. Frankie immediately, he's producing the show live at the time, and he sends me the message saying, what you saying here, Alec? You've got coke and nobody else is to get any, and Brian's the same. He's texted me, really professional. He's still kind of asking me questions that live on the show, and I'm answering them, but I know it's all going wrong, behind the scenes. And he's sent me a text at the same time as I'm answering one of the questions, going, "Two's up, big man. You've got Charlie. How come Brian's not getting Charlie?" And because you get the live feed, giving you the comments, the folk are all the punters, the Jersnet community, absolutely fantastic. I love them all. I'd like to think they kind of like me as well. There's a trust there, and I broke it straight away because you can see the live comments coming in because it's a live show. The feedback there on the YouTube feedback section, and it's no sausage rolls, big man. Figure eggs. How you can't bogart the coke the same way you eat all the steak bakes. Now that's fat shaming and it's nasty, But I can understand it's coming from a place of real hurt. Folk that Alec, how come the rest of the class hasn't got any Colombian marks and powders and agreement here? We all dish it out, we all share it. And I'm sorry, I didn't have any on me. I'm sorry if I gave the impression that I had cocaine on me, and I wasn't dishing out. And of course the Filipino bellboy line, that was really problematic. Again, lots of complaints about that as well. Davy Fairotherglen, he gets in touch straight away, and he's like, I've got a desk clerk here for Nicaragua, Alec. Guy's 35. He's trying to say he's no use anymore. I'm like, no, that's absolutely fine. That's totally valid. He's fine. You can use him. And as guy said, I've got a male. What was that? Was that Rab, I think, in Sockets? And he was saying, I've got a male chambermaid here. The guy cleans the rooms and all that. He's 54. And he's for El Salvador, but he's been fantastic with it. But you try to say he's useless now. No, he's El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, all that kind of region is absolutely fine. And the age it's the pertness of the butt cheeks is the important thing. And the boy, as the bellboy, it's no about age, it's about rank, And the scenario I was talking about was I was in my late 20s at the time, but the guy that was actually the bellboy, he was like 35 and he was supplying the gear. So there was no kind of twisting of the power dynamic there. It was all perfectly above board, and that's I just want everybody to be. I'm sorry for upsetting these kind of plans. And like the thongs implied, okay, you're set as a scenario, it's a scene that was trying to. It's just the important thing is the pertness of the butt cheeks. I think I said glazed or bronzed or whatever like that. And that's the main thing because but they need to be pert as well because you're snorting in an area that so you want it to be the coke to be lifted as far away from the more pungent parts of that general region. And so it doesn't matter where they're from or what kind of, but just as long as everything's legal, in terms of age and everything's proper in terms of the power dynamic and all that. And the main thing is just a bit of you're setting up a scene there. It's on an island, you're on a beach on an island, and the sun's setting in the background. So you've got that kind of formal landscape thing going on. You were trying to create the kind of bevel, the mound, the curvature of the butt cheek, and how bronzed and glazed it is. It's supposed to be kind of reflected with the sun, the dome of the setting sun, it's halfway down the horizon. So there's two, there's one kind of dome in front of another kind of thing, and they're both glowing. And then you've got the kind of contrast of the line of coke, the white. It looks like snow on a hillside, and here it is. It's a beautiful summer's evening. So I'm sorry if I can cause any confusion, and that was the whole thing there, and I'm quite happy to take my punishment, and hopefully I'll be allowed back on just a bit. Apologies to it, and it had nothing to do with Frankie, nothing to do with Jersey. I didn't have any coke on me, and it doesn't matter. It's just hotel staff that have got pert butt cheeks and are, 11 minutes. Jesus, right. Okay, this is your Fat Egg post-match reaction pod coming to you in association with Jersnet and also with Tusk. Tusk, the new cheapest shaving foam you can get in Morrison's. It's £1 with aloe vera, but it's too late. It's called Tusk. That's too Ron Burgundy. That's too Tusk. Why don't you ask him if he's going to stay? Why don't you ask him if he's gone away? Big Phil, come on, somebody else that might use shaving foam to shave their napper. And it's one of the things I was in the. I was in the shower, and I shave in the shower kind of thing. You do that thing of selling a wet shave, and that's some of my disposable razors, about 15 years old, and it's getting to the stage where, if I don't at least have the shaving foam right, I'm going to look like I'm actually trying to slash an artery or something like that. It's a kind of pizza face. I look like Homer when he's trying to show Bart, after he showed Bart how to shave. It's when I come out of the that was an absolute mess there. Usually, I don't really look after my appearance as you can see, but it's getting to the point I was going to end up getting sectioned. Folk thinking, the transfer window's not be good enough for him. He's not happy with the way things are going. We better get him. So I went round on Friday, and this is actually Gillette. This is the stuff I've been using. Gillette's the best a man can get. That's still a bit, still a bit. You're wearing a lot of leather. But it's there's still a bit of medallions and hairy chests and open shirts and that kind of thing. But it's not as bad as Tusk. I couldn't. Nobody's going to see what shaving foam will go. I'm not going to walk about showing folk this is what I got in Morrison's shaving foam. It's Tusk. But I just felt the Gillette it ran out. And I can't tell whether this is blue or and it's Superstition Central when you're not actually getting to the game. You're not getting to Parkhead. I don't go to most away games. Anyway, although even home games feel like away games these days when you're supporting Rangers. But the Superstition ramps up a notch when you feel even more helpless. And I'd got to the end of this tin on like Friday. And I thought, the game's coming up. So how do I play this? Is it like, we beat St Johnstone 6-0. So we beat St Johnstone 2-0, then we beat Ross County 6-0. So we're on a bit of a run, actually, and is that, just stick with the same, and there was still enough left in the arse, the kind of fag end was left in that, and it was all flat, it wasn't foamy in any way, shape or form, it was kind of runny liquid, but it was kind of greasy on your face, so I was still sticking with that, or, we've just did the transfer window, we need resupplies, we need to get rid of the old stuff, and we're going to bring in the new stuff, so I'll go and get myself a new bottle, and I went in on Friday, afternoon to Morrison's, and I saw it and I couldn't get it. It's a pound. This is 50p cheaper. The next 50p more expensive. Sorry, the next most cheap thing in Morrison's. So I got that, and I used the new stuff this morning in the shower. And I had it's like green towels. You do that kind of stuff. I've only got green towels, so folk don't think I'm totally mental. Like that Manchester United fan, Leeds fan he's a painter and decorator, and he would give folk a discount if they wanted like red fences and red doors painted white. Because he just hated Man U that much. He wanted to. I don't want to be that kind of not simple way. And so I have green towels in the house, but I would basically, they're getting hung up to dry after they've been washed. I'll have them in the bottom rungs and put the blue towels in the top rung. Saturday passes. The Saturday when the passes quite fast. If you get the hairdryer out and you're trying to make the blue towel dry faster, go on. Didn't work anyway that bit. And I took the green towel bathroom this morning. I put it instead of the bath mat. I chucked the bath mat out the road, put the green towel down, so I was stamping all that when I come out the shower. But I don't know if that means it's actually undermined me. It's hard to know how to play the superstition, how the karma and that all works. But it didn't work there. I don't think I had a good shave. It wasn't a close shave. Apart Celtic kind of just cruised through the way the razor cruised through the I don't know how it's worked at all, but I've made a mistake there with the old tusk. My name's Alec Anderson. Remember back in the days when Rangers had ways, Caselli shades and corn braids, pitching pennies, Honeys had the high top jellies. Shooting skelly, mother funcers were all friendly, lounging at the barbecues, drinking brews, with the neighbourhood crews hanging at the avenues. Turn your pages to 1993, and Rangers were on their way to 5 in a row. They won the treble. They went 44 games unbeaten. They were a goal away for the Champions League final. And our first trip to Parkhead that season followed hard upon the first ever playoff round at the Champions League, the second leg, the first ever playoff round at the Champions League, and we won both. We won at Elland Road, Leeds, midweek in the second leg of the playoffs, and then we went to Parkhead and we won 1-0 there in the league the following weekend. That weekend, Saturday, a few days later, and a mere 31 years later, we're going to Parkhead for the first time this season. We're getting cuffed 3-0, and in the midweek preceding it, we're not even in the second leg or the first leg, for that matter, of the Champions League playoff, because we went out in the previous round, the third qualifying round, as if Lyngby had beaten us, I think, back in '93. But Dynamo Kiev, who did beat us, they didn't even go through. They get beat by RB Salzburg the other night. They get put out. They drew the other night, but they get put out over the two legs in RB Salzburg, who back in 1993 were a year away from their greatest moment, reaching the 1994 UEFA Cup final when they were known as Casino Austria Salzburg, and they're still a kind of Wimbledon thing going on. It's actually a different name, still a wee kind of Wimbledon MK Dons thing going on there. I am talking to you after Rangers. I'm talking about power dynamics and how they shift from time to time. Things can be after Rangers lost by 3-0 at Parkhead to a team called Celtic. In the first Old Firm game of the season, a result that means Philippe Clement maintains his unbeaten home record in Old Firm derbies. Pedants out there might note the fact that he hasn't won any of his first 5 Old Firm derbies, including 3 straight losses in the league trips to Parkhead. Now, it's no. I'm more concerned about the fact that we're 2 away games this season. We haven't scored a single goal domestically. We scored a single goal domestically, and the only one we didn't lose, I mean, it's only 2 games, but the only one we didn't lose was Tynecastle, and Hearts are absolutely, at the time, the first game of the season, you thought, well, Hearts are doing quite well, they did quite well last season, they're going to step it up a gear this season, aren't they? So maybe that'll not be as bad a result as we think. Hearts beat Celtic home and away last season, and they get 1 draw against us in 5 games. Imagine that. Imagine only getting 1 draw against a team in 5 games in a single season. In fact, it was 6. We played Hearts in the League Cup as well, so that's bad. But it turns out Hearts are an absolute disaster this season. They're an absolute calamity. We're the only team they've taken points off. We're the only team that haven't beat them, I think, this season. So yes, it's not looking good, folks. It's a bad old start to the season. Kind of officially confirmed today. It was men against boys. As I was saying to tell men against boys. I don't know if it's men against boys, but it was definitely we were the boys in that one, because it's Rangers. We'll go first. We're the boys against the men, but it was more like a template, versus the finished article, a plan against a realisation and that kind of thing, a preliminary sketch being unfairly or harshly anyway compared to the finished portrait. It's all been glazed and framed and all that. It's a bad day. It's a bad day all round, and I'll try and make this as quick and painless as possible. I'm going to do. Folks say, "Oh, you're always look on the bright side," and that, or "You're a happy clapping idiot. You're the reason that we're so bad." I'm going to look for context. I'm going to, there is context to be had. I think we need to take that on board. That's Boydie. It was Boydie saying, but Boydie was, you don't get time. You don't get time in Glasgow. You don't get time in Glasgow. Space doesn't score a goal. Space has never scored a goal. Time and space. Space-time continuum is like Donnie Darko. It's just like, I don't know what he's wanting us to do. Go down a wormhole, and get our rabbit suit on and kind of stop time and go back to 1993 or whatever. Go back to Back to the Future and get ourselves, Lionel Messi and Ronaldo up front for something. I don't know what it is he's actually expecting us to do, or just change the board. If we don't give the board time, are we going to go and get an American investor or something and just ask to get a rabbit mask, a hole through the eyeball, as in Donnie Darko. Dark feelings. Because I'm going to give you context and all that, but I am, this is my 4-leaf clover. I remember that. I'm going to give you a bit of context and trying to look on a bright side. I remember Celtic fans saying, look on the bright side of life, but it is dark. I do feel Donnie Darko, dark feelings a day. It's one of the games where you just want to go outside and knock an old woman off her rascal scooter or something like that. Punch a toddler in their stroller or something like that. Put a head in a baby in its crib or something like that. But I saw that happening the day. I saw basically Celtic treating Rangers that way, with a frail, inferior, helpless kind of wee item, and it was cruel. It was sick. It was horrible to watch. So I wouldn't do that. Apart from anything else, if Rangers tried to, in the way I'm feeling, if I'm representing Rangers, then I tried to go for an old woman or a toddler or a baby, they'd see me coming a mile off and they'd beat the shit out of me, because we're so slow and so kind of. I don't want anybody thinking I'm actually in a good mood when I'm going to try and find positive. I'm going to try and be counterintuitive here when assessing this game. It's just a reaction, as I say. It's no proper analysis, but oh my god. Turn off now if you're of a squeamish disposition. I don't like toilet humour. I love slapstick and stuff like that. I'm no, like Step Brothers and that. I can take a wee bit of toilet humour, but I'm not really fond of this isn't humorous, but it's about toilet stuff, and it's disgusting. It will give you the boke if you're that way inclined, but I don't want you to know just exactly how bad a mood I'm in, because I'm maybe trying to see a positive or try to see a way ahead, or saying let's no, chuck the baby out with the bathwater or whatever you want. I don't want you thinking I'm no hurting, like, and I'm talking to the Rangers fans here. It's something came to mind today, and it's I used to work. I've told you before. If you watch me on Jersey at that post-match reaction, I've gone on about how I used to work in the bookies. I used to work for Ladbrokes when I was in full-time education. I was part-time employed, and I was like a cashier, just working the tills at the bookies in the kind of late 90s, and I worked a lot of time in the one in the salt market. It's like Dickensian down there, just like Glasgow Green, near the court and all that kind of thing. Some right characters down there, as we say, and no, none more tragic or helpless than myself at that time working in there. Working like 12-hour shifts and stuff like that. During the summer especially, trying to make as much money as possible. Pittance of wages, you're only like a 6-hour contract, but you'd work in night racing, and you'd be working the day shift as well, and did it 2 or 3 days in a row. You weren't supposed to, but you did. So anybody didn't get paid out properly, you can sue me. And manageress I worked with, she was absolutely lovely. She was brilliant, Teresa. And Orange Walks used to start for Glasgow Green, just in the middle of the nearest bookies, So, and one day as Orange Walks, she goes, I have to take my name badge off. I'm like, what? It's not Teresa, it's a bit overtly, and Teresa was Catholic, she wasn't interested in fit, but like that, but she's that's fucking right, aye, okay, fair enough. I'm not having a go at him, it's just, like, sometimes I'm not saying I'm getting against the Orange Lodge or that, or whatever, just real world stuff. This is what happens, you get scenarios that you think, well, I could maybe have avoided that if anything else, and it's no fair that Teresa had to do that, but she did, just in case anybody gets, because folk get a bit hot under the collar when it comes to losing money at the bookies, and they'll lash out in any way they can. It was all plexiglass right round the place, typical kind of bookies. But when the Orange Walks, I ended up, I'm doing there's a few other folk working in the place, and I was at the till that's furthest away from the manager's kind of seat, and Teresa's the manageress's seat at that point, and I must have run out of betting slips or something, and I was just, the place was mobbed, the folk with the hats on and all that, the women with the big shoes and the big coats and that kind of thing. I wanted some slips. I'm like, Teresa, could you get? And she's like shouted it right across the shop. Teresa, and every kind of, a few folk didn't make, but Teresa, her face just fell. I've taken my name badge off to avoid this, and I don't want Teresa, Mother Teresa. That's a non-winner in the 215 at Kempton, and it's a dodgy name anyway. There's something about that name I don't like. Right, Margaret. Elizabeth, whatever. right, trips, is that right? That's fucking terrible. So I owed her one anyway for a few various reasons, Teresa. And it was one day. It was before the shop would get busy in any way, but it was open. It was during the week, and this is where it gets a bit. There was a toilet in the salt market, and you couldn't have folk walk. I was working the bookies in Knightswood, and the whole thing where the boy, somebody came out and said there's a dead body in the toilets, and it was a fella went in there. He's got his trousers down to his ankles, and he's got the syringe hanging out his thigh. And I thought, he's dead. He's over the OD'd, and it's the first time I'd ever seen is it naloxone, noxolone, or what they call it, the stuff that we're getting out to the Polish recently, because there's such a drug problem in Scotland to hit folk. It's like adrenaline or somebody pumping it, but it reverses the high, saves your life. But somebody's a drug addict, so that boy came out. It was like coming back from the dead. That's one for the Celtic fans watching. He comes back out and he's raging. It saved your life, but he's like, that happens all the time. I've ruined his high. I've wasted the money he's spent on that. He's absolutely raging at us. That's the kind of thing. It used to stuff being like that. It was the same thing with the toilets and the bookies, the lad books in the salt market. I think it's a printing shop now or something. There's a wee toilet, and you could go into the toilet. It was supposed to be toilets for customers only. It didn't make a big deal with folk coming in and use it was just the old trough, just one big metal trough for room for about 3 people comfortably. And then there was the wee cubicle for other business, and it was just permanently locked. You needed to get the key off us for that because there was a lot of folk using in that area. For a pure shame and what have you, but that's the reality of the situation. And there was a lassie came in and she wasn't the full shilling. She had mental health problems or whatever, but she would put on wee bets and stuff like that, and she came in a lot, and she wasn't that. One day she came in and she went into the toilet, and it was like, it's just a gents, really, just a gents. And I know, but there was just enough folk in that I couldn't really do anything about. Didn't want to say, and she wasn't that. I thought she'll realise and she'll come back out. And she come back out and she went away after a wee while. And then somebody else, one of the other punters, went in for a pee. And they come back and they said that's talking to Teresa anyway, talking to the manageress. And she went in and had a look, and she come back out to me. Eventually she was crying. She said, I've got to. What had happened was the person had gone in there and hadn't been able to get into the cubicle, and none of the stories I tell you are nice. None of the stories I tell you are funny. They couldn't get into the cubicle because it was locked. They're too embarrassed, didn't have time, but looks of things to ask, and had just basically got the jeans down and parked the bum over the trough, the urinal, and went to town. Let it all come out. Basically, that's how I felt today. Teresa was crying because she had to ask me to do, because it was a gent, so I had to go and date, and it was basically all we had on us was I don't know why, I don't know what the situation was that I had to. There was no other way of just like shutting the toilets and saying that's it. The toilets are shut today, or we get a company in to date or something like that. It just wasn't an option for some reason. I can't remember the exact setup. But basically, I've got a plastic. All we had was a wee plastic shovel that we used for going about and sweeping up fag ends and betting slips, a plastic thing basically. And I had to, I was in there for about half an hour, basically shoveling liquid shit, human excrement, out this fucking trough, and taking it and putting it in the toilet, the cubicle toilet, and flushing it away bit by bit. But it was fucking horrific, and that's pretty much how I felt today. That's what that experience was. I don't mean that all Celtic fans are a bunch of shit. I just mean I felt it was just miserable. I'm not doing it. By the way, the Aston Villa pennant, that's no. I don't do that thing. I went through Rangers being in the Champions League in the 90s, and we get scalped off Juventus, and you get Celtic fans going, ha ha, who's a rank? You're like, well, you have even got into the Champions League, So I know what that is. I'm not doing that thing. It's because I'm, Aston Villa taking away Steven Gerrard is probably, the moment where things started going wrong that led to this situation we're in just now. So I just like to put a different pennant up there. I've got a lot of pennants. I forgot Celtic had drawn Aston Villa in the Champions League because I didn't really want to know Celtic were getting the Champions League because I wanted us to be in the Champions League. But that's how I felt today. It's just watching that. It was absolutely awful, and all the more so because it was so predictable. The team was exactly the team we wanted. Considering we knew we weren't going to get the new Albanian wunderkind, Nadim. He was obviously international clearance. He wasn't going to get that in time and whatever. He's going to have to be a wunderkind if he can reverse a three-goal advantage for Celtic. But in fact, he's about 26 anyway, isn't he? So he wasn't going to play. We had the new Dutch fella. Excuse me, I still haven't memorised his name. He was on the bench, utility defender. A bit early in the day for him as well. But the team, knowing what was most likely going to be available, was the one we would have picked. With, basically, don't have Tom Lawrence starting to have Diamandi starting in the 10, although we went more kind of 4-3-3 at times a day, if not just, 10-0-0. It was, we went kind of 4-3-3, but I think it's Diamandi's trying to do the 10 role, and you get Dujon Sterling is sitting in there alongside Connor Barron. It's Dessers up front, and he's been on fire recently, although I think we all knew he was going to kind of struggle today, as he struggled even at Tynecastle. On the far left, if you like, of that front three, we had Rabbi Matondo. He'd been retained by the club. We'd kept him, and we all wanted to keep him because he's 2 good appearances, he's 2 good performances this season. Scored a few goals last week, a few assists. On the right hand side, it was Václav Černý, who's starting to, you would hope, getting his fitness back, coming onto a game. And in defence, we had Hefty, who we were worried about, but getting less and less worried with his games against St Johnstone, his game against Ross County in the left back position. On the right hand side, it's Tavernier, who everybody's worried about as well. And Robin Proper, he's back. He was rested last week against Ross County, but he started today alongside Big Suter at centre half, and it's Super Jack Butland in goals, and that's a team all of us wanted. That's a team we thought was more dynamic. It was, if anybody was going to do it, it'd be that 11 starting. And what a first 10 minutes! The first 10 minutes were absolutely sensational. We were really. This is what we did the last time we were at Parkhead. I think when we lost 2-1 there last season under Clement. We lost 2-1 twice, but the second time we lost 2-1 under Clement last season at Parkhead. But there, we were going toe to toe, and I've got a big thing about how you start at Parkhead. That was, I'm talking about what used to happen, before 2012. Let's be honest, pre-2012, Rangers. If we get, didn't matter. There's always going to be a kind of blitz for Celtic. They always come at you straight away, come out the blocks, absolutely firing into you. As long as you're hitting wee counter attacks and getting some, chances up the other end, just giving them something to think about. There's a good chance you're going to get through this game. You might even win it. It was so much better than that the first 10 minutes a day. Celtic were just not getting anywhere near us, weren't getting anywhere near our box. We were basically kind of controlling the game, really high tempo. You could see straight away it was a high risk strategy, and it's a bit like it was even better than, let's say, the first 10 minutes the last time we'd been at Parkhead, where we kept that up for the kind of first half hour or so until they started putting the goals in, as they always do against us. But these days. But it seemed to be even more control of the game in the first 10 minutes here today. Missed a couple of glaring chances which were both offside anyway. But we found out that just putting it in the back of the net, even if it's offside, can make such a difference. Dessers, I think it was at 5 minutes in, has a chance where he's just done that thing where he's managed to find the only way of hitting the ball from about 6 yards out, which hits an opposition player and gets cleared. So much of the goal to aim at. But this is what we'll do, Big Surrey. He'll have his days where he's absolutely brilliant, and he'll have other ones where he can't do it. Last player to score at Parkhead for us. And then it was a header from Rabbi Matondo, point blank range again. He's headed it away from goal instead of into the goal, but both times they were actually offside. And you're thinking, we just got to keep going. The main thing is just setting the pattern there. And then Celtic scored a goal that was offside, and it showed what we could already see. It's difficult when you're watching on television, you don't get to see the whole park, but it was already clear we had a lot of players very high up the park. I think it's a high risk strategy, but I know what the manager's trying to do there, because Celtic are just going to come in. If you lay off them, they're just going to come at you. You see them doing that to other teams all the time, other teams in Scotland. So you've got to go at them, you've got to give them something to think about, and you've then got to be able to back it up. Though you've got to get a goal out of it. And we didn't, and then they didn't get a goal either. But it was 11 minutes in, I think it was, when they just, was it Dujon Sterling goes in there, we're having to cover in midfield all the time. They're steaming into tackles, really needing to cover against the counter-attack. He didn't quite make the tackle. He did make the tackle, I think he made contact, but it spun away from him. It's a ball gets played through. They walk it into the back of the net, really. But it was basically the whole of our half to themselves. But I think that Kuhn, the ball went to, he was just offside. They get taken back. They're celebrating all that. And I don't know if it was the fact that the whole stadium went mental, as it does when Celtic score and there's no away supporters there. That spooked some of the newer players, or just the older players, the guys who are used to this. I think it was more likely to be the fact that they realised how easily we've been opened up, but instead of thinking, right, let's just do what we're doing but do it better, let's just take that in. It was a 5-minute period that Rangers just stopped. And we're still knocking the ball about at the back. It was just it's like both teams had been kind of neutered. There was no, Celtic were making a few mistakes. Now they were looking a bit wobbly with the first 10 minutes that we started, but then that was it. We're still passing the ball about the back, and Celtic still only going for it for about 5 minutes. But we just looked as if, no, we don't fancy this. The players had actually made the decision. They didn't fancy it. It freaked them out. It's just the last, was it 3 times last season we took the lead against Celtic? And each time it was chopped off, like really tight, ropey VAR decisions, very subjective VAR decisions. We also equalised, the first time we equalised against Celtic at Ibrox. So it's 4 times really crucial goals that could have, had they been allowed, could have led to a Rangers win, were ruled out. And I'm making jokes today, we'll need to score 3 times to get 1 goal to take the lead. We need to score 3 times before Celtic to take a 1-0 lead in at the break, kind of thing. So Celtic go, well, that's another way it can happen. They've taken the lead. All right, maybe they'll crash now because that's been taken off them. But that will totally affect. Hell, that actually spooked us as well. And Celtic, I said, took them 5 minutes to realise we weren't really doing anything. And then it's that. This is what we haven't won at Parkhead since basically 4 years ago. It was October 2020. When Big Connor Golson got both the goals, no crowd there, COVID season, and Celtic were given as much time as possible to get their players back and what I mean, before we played the first Old Firm game of the season. But it was legitimate. We still beat them anyway. We were great that day. But ever since then, I think we've had 1 draw. Maybe I know Gio got a draw his second trip to Parkhead. Is that it? I think it might be. We drew the second game that season. We drew 1 each in the second game at Parkhead, and the season we won 55. Since then, I think it's been so. We got a terrible record at Parkhead, and we're going 2 goals down all the time. 4 goals down and 3 goals in, 4 goals down. In Gio's first and third league visit to Parkhead, to Postacoglu's Celtic, and that was the final score, 3-0 and 4-0 in both those games. And then that's us. We went 2 goals down at Ibrox as well against Celtic in the 3 each draw, but we brought that back last season under Clement. The game we lost 3-2 under Michael Beale at Parkhead. Season before last, we were 3-1 down in that game, come back to 3-2. Last season we were 2-0 down, and we pulled a goal back towards the end. Just before, it was at Christmas time, the game at kind of Christmas New Year, that finished 2-1, and then we're 2 goals down again early doors last season, the last trip to Parkhead last season, the last Old Firm game, and then we pull a goal back straight away. Lundstrom gets sent off straight after that, but it's just a matter of there's only so many times you can go 2 goals down to Celtic and no eventually get a scalping. And we did, dismissing the scalpings, we did actually get under Postacoglu. I'm talking about Clement's Rangers here, and we did it today, and eventually it actually only ends up 3-0. But the characteristic of all these awful trips to Parkhead, the one kind of unifying thing is horrible defending, the total lack of defending, just the absence of basic football principles in that little corner of the pitch, ironically right in front of where the corner the away fans would be in, that we'd be in if we were given an allocation there. It's between the Lisbon Lions stand, they call it, the old Rangers end, and their main stand, that little corner in there where it's our left back area basically, and it's always in the first half. You just have these absolute nightmares with a virtual change of personnel. There's no Borna Barisic in the other day, but it's just that's part of it. That characterises the games against Postacoglu's Celtic as well. This horrible run that we're on at Parkhead, unwinning run, is the best you can call it. And it's the same thing happened today. I don't know. Rabbi Matondo definitely blamed for not tracking his man. It was Alistair Johnson. He's got to get after him. That's his man. Johnson's tracking him. Johnson's the Celtic right back. Matondo's our outside left, if you like. They're tracking each other. There's a wee change of players because Hefty, they work a wee 1-2 from a shy Celtic, but it's just basically got a shy. They get a throw in down that wee corner and they just work a basic 1-2. The ball comes back. I don't know who it was. Plays it just down the line, covering behind, and maybe Hefty should have been. I think Hefty was just covering the area he should have been covering, and Johnson runs on, and he is Matondo's. You see, Matondo actually eases up. He's saying, "I'm not going to get the ball's going to go out," or just like, "I don't care." And Johnson just runs to the line and pulls it back, and take your pick. Again, it's one of the goals it's like the goal we lost in the Scottish Cup final to them. Take your pick of who's to blame. Thereafter, it's like the damage has already been done at that point, but then you've got proper falls in his arse. The pitch was slippy. Celtic players have been falling as well, but if proper falls in his arse, and he's making a desperate attempt to head the ball away while he's on the deck, and it comes back to Tav. It's Maida who's always Tav's man, and he gives Tav a hard time. But Tav does just a good player, a good team. But Tav again is closest to the danger at the moment, closest to the goal scorer, and he never gets any credit for at least getting a bit closer to his guy. He's supposed to be marking him and getting it cleared, but the ball should never go to that point. But anyway, Tav's taking blame as well, and then the shot itself wasn't very convincing. But I don't know if it's just Butland has done well to get hands on it. I don't think so. I think Butland's done poorly there as well. He could have done a lot better for that. And then the ball goes, and that's 1-0, and they're genuinely gone mental this time. This goal does count, and you're thinking, well, what usually happens here is we go down 2 goals, usually at a quick second, and it took a while for it to happen. It was 40 minutes before they got the second goal, and it was every bit as disastrous as the first one. Again, it's epitomising what the thing was here today: sharpness, fitness, just acuity, basic kind of nous and acuity. And I think the manager's right in what he's saying after the game about Celtic having had more time to build up their automatisms. Very, very prevalent here, very evident. But we were terrible. It's Czerny. Czerny was getting the ball. He was making himself involved. He was coming over to the other side a lot as well. He was coming over to the left-hand side a lot, but every time he was getting the ball, it wasn't sticking to him at all. Dessers was the same. Anytime Dessers was getting the ball played up to him, he was knocking it back further than where it came from, trying to find a fallback. Easy ball all the time. Carter Vickers kind of basically back pocketed him for most of the game. He's still pitting himself about, Dessers. He's still fighting. He's still leading the line. He's given us an option up there. He's given us, shape, if like, as a team. But it was just having one of the days where it wasn't happening for him at all. He's plugging away right to the ending on it. But had his moments, but like everybody else, it just petered out and turned into nothing. But Czerny was everywhere, but he was making mistakes that he just couldn't keep the ball at all. And I think he ends up being slightly short with a pass back. The ball comes from right in the halfway line, and somebody again is up his arse. I think it may be Greg Taylor, and he just fires the ball to Furuhashi, who just turns, is allowed to turn, gets away from his man, and it must be a good 25 yards out. And he's right in the middle of the goal, and the replays from behind the goal at Celtic and looking down the park, it's like I'm talking about wormholes. I'm talking about space-time continuum. Jack Butland is right over to the one side of his goal, and Robin Proper is completely backed off him, the centre half who's supposed to be plugging up that area of the park, and he walks over the other post. It's like they're saying, slot it in here, and he does. He just basically passes the ball into the net for 25 yards out, and it's not even like slam bang into the postage stamp corner. There's a lot of room there still between the ball, where the ball crosses the line, and the far post. It's just a great finish by him, but also it's been offered up to him something terrible. We just, the butt cheeks were parted. I'm sorry, but that's just what it was. We're just offering it, and it was awful, terrible. We looked completely the usual, and you're thinking, we can't do this thing where we now pull a goal back and we give Celtic a bit of a scare, maybe even with 10 men. And the bookings were starting to happen. Hefty get booked at 19th minute. That was a bad book. It was like the ref got that one wrong, I think. Diamande, 21 minutes. I think he was quite lucky. He put his hand up to Johnson's face at one point, and I like that about Dio. I noticed that in the Scottish Cup final. He should have got sent off in the Scottish Cup final as well. I think the replay showing how he'd kind of lashed out. He does hate Celtic, in the best possible way. Get ripped in. That's what this. But the manager's talking after. I didn't like what I was hearing from Clement at the end of the game, but I totally understood it. If you know what I mean, that's basically what I'm going to. The tenor of this reaction pod. The tenor of my reaction is, it was horrendous, but I kind of understand. He was talking. He talked up the chances. If we had scored these chances in the first couple of minutes, and Celtic are so much more used to each other, and we've got all these new players that no time to gel together. At times, I kind of want. I'm old school. I'm totally atavistic, or prelapsarian, whatever you like. But I'm looking for Walter Smith basically just to stand there and go, "Oh, we're crap. We're garbage." But the situation he's in the situation with modern football, modern players, but most of the situation we're in as a club and with the squad we've got new players, he's trying to keep a sense of momentum going forward, no trying to write in, try to explain everything away, make things logical. We're going to stick on this path. I get why he was saying what he was saying, but this idea that no admitting just how crap it was sometimes can be a bad thing. We'd already had Matondo went off injured at 38 minutes and Ross McCausland come on from. So Ross McCausland, who'd been played on the left-hand side last week when he came on as a sub against Ross County, you could see almost why that we thought there might be a problem with Matondo. So Ross McCausland come on have to play on the left-hand side from the 38th minute. And Dujon Sterling get booked 37th minute. So I was worried we were going to get a guy sent off quite early, and it didn't happen. Because in the second half we did our usual, we made a substitution just before the hour, and it was Tom Lawrence come on for Diamande, who'd taken that booking deal. And it was tight. The midfield they were overrunning this midfield. That was the thing, and we were throwing ourselves into tackle. And you're thinking just one wrong judgment, and we're going to be down to 10 men as well. And we're not going to pull a goal back today. There's got to be a point where it just goes totally wrong. And when you look at it from that point, it should have been 4 or 5. We've got away with one today. If you look at it that way, if you're looking for positives, you've got. We won the last time we lost 3-0 at Parkhead. We got to a European final at the end of the same season, and when Igaman come on in the 80th minute, we finally got to see him. His first touch was great. I don't mean his first touch was great. I mean the first touch he had in the game. I think he beat somebody, took the ball off somebody, and then beat another guy on the one move. So that was the only kind of positives I could find today. And the other positive was it didn't go beyond 3 goals. We come out in the second half, we did that thing again where we started huffing and puffing, having plenty of the ball, getting it into the box, and having chances. The stats at the end of the game today, these games we've lost against Celtic by a single goal. We lost them 4 times last season, and drew 1 game, but all the losses were by a single goal. And you can look at that and go, that means we're not that far away from them, especially when we're going down to 10 men in a couple of games and really pushing them at Parkhead well down to 10 men, putting the fear up them, really, that we're going to equalise and take points off them at Parkhead with just 10 men. But that can go one of 2 ways. And I was saying this in the preview pod yesterday, that eventually comes a point where it's just the dominance. The dominance is just, that's the real story there. It's no how tight the games are. Remember us 9 in a row. Celtic, a great record at Ibrox during their 9 in a row. They did really well. They beat us a lot of times at Ibrox, got a lot of draws at Ibrox. It was Parkhead, we beat them 1-0, beat them 1-0. And Celtic would dominate the games in terms of possession, but it just came a point where you're saying, get the message here, this is just how we do this, and the fact that we can keep doing it, just it's no fluke, it's no lucky, it's the plan. And you're looking at Celtic, the fact that they get the 2 goals first half. They always get the 2 goals first half against us in the games that go that rack up a bit of a score. They're always leading us by 2 goals, and 3-4 of those games last season. 3 of those games last season, and they've done it again today. There's going to come a point where not only can you not bring it back to 2-1 or 3-2, whatever that, they're going to go on a bit further. But so it's went the other way today. It's went the other day. When we beat Ross County 6-0 last week. My old attitude to Old Firm games was I like to see us slipping up the week before, almost just be really miserly, really kind of stilted to show. Maybe not have a bad result, but a bad performance to look like we're thinking ahead. The energy, the mental energy, the focus is on the bigger game at Parkhead. You can't really afford that now though, because you can't afford to drop many points if you're going to win the league. But apart from anything else, I think it was just more about confirming that we'll be able to finish second. There's a lot of talk at the start of this season that we'll be struggling to finish second, and that will continue. Just now, Aberdeen off to a great start this season, but I think it was about winning, making sure we win the league within the league. There's another league. We're no fit for the top 2 league. That's something we won that 3 years ago, but Celtic are already looking like they're running away with that one, and it is a league. It's another leap up, But I think that the 6-0 win, we needed it last week just to prove, to make sure we set down a marker in terms of making sure we're going to fucking finish second. But I think Celtic have also made sure today that we're going to finish second. You never know. You never know how these things will go. Because the one thing I would say, oh no, I'll leave that. That's a big point. I'll leave that for it. We'll get the details of the game out the way. We did that thing. We huffed and puffed again. It's the stats. What I'm trying to say is the stats today. No, damn lies, statistics. I know that, and more than ever today. But we had 13 shots on goal. Celtic had 14 shots. One more than us at Parkhead. We'd take that every time. We had 48% possession. Nearly half the possession of the game gone to Parkhead. That's fine. We had 4 shots on target. They had 4 shots on target. That means Jack Butland is as shit a goalkeeper as I'm starting to suspect he is. He's no shit. I just don't think he's the big I am. I think Jack Butland's going to quickly go into the same bracket as, wrongly we ended up putting Alfredo Morelos, Borna Barisic, and is it Ryan Kent? No, Roma are going to offer 10 million. Take it. You should have taken it. No. Jack Butland this summer, folk are wanting him, going to maybe take 10 million, but I just let him go. Just get Liam Kelly in there, get somebody Scottish, somebody who understands what's going on here. Because it's Celtic have got the nastiness, they've got that kind of street smarts, they've got that, they know what it's all about. That's what we seem to lack. The what's that Lady Macbeth line about art not without ambition, but what is it? The poison should accompany. What is the thing that should accompany it? Anyway, are not without ambition, but lack the. Anyway, you're not a nasty bastard. That's the thing. You need to be a bit of that to get anywhere in this particular fixture. It was off. We're huffing and puffing and I think all we're doing was actually keeping the score down. But the stats, possession, everything. It was just this time. That's what was eeksy peeksy, in a delusional way. The same as the tight score lines over the last season. It was delusional to think we're only losing these games by a single goal. We're really close to them. Today it was like the stat of possession, shots on goal, shots on target, nearly exactly the same. So it's not actually a 3-0 game. It was more like a 5 or 6-0 game. Celtic, just that bit of sharpness, that bit of street smarts, tactical acuity, whatever. But it's times Celtic are hitting us in the counter-attack. They're playing us on the counter-attack, on the break, at their home stadium in front of 60,000 of their own fans. And it's up to you to decide whether that's any kind of tribute to us or whether that's just, they're taking the piss. And when you go 3-0 up, you do. But again, we did that thing, start the second half, I think we actually hit the post, although the ball had maybe gone out of play or there was a foul in the box. Big Suter heads one off the back of their post. And, he had another chance just before that where he should have just hit it, Big John Suter. Dessers is kind of waltzing into the box and beating somebody, then just sclaffing the ball straight out of play. There's plenty of possession, but it just doing absolutely just powder puff in defence, powder puff up front, and there was a difference which Celtic proved. It was at 75th minute, I think. Again, what was the problem there? Somebody gets dispossessed. Hefty, I think, was doing okay. Was it Connor Barron? Gets caught or hits a wrong ball, but Celtic have got the ball in about our box. It goes to McGregor, who hits one for distance last week against St Mirren and scores. He's trying to score. It takes a massive deflection, is what I'm saying, off. It spins right off Dujon Sterling's boots, and that ends up going right. I don't think Jack Butland could have done anything about this one. It was definitely going right into the very far corner, almost kissing the post on the way in. But the guy's trying to score for distance. He was trying to shoot, and it's gone in the back of the net, so job done. We were terrible. We're absolutely terrible. But I think the thing that's kind of we wanted to clear it. I'm talking about that person in the Ladbrokes in the toilet in there. They needed a right good clear out. I needed my shaving foam. They need a right good clear out. We've been demanding that for years. And that means we get these players in. We need to get a whole lot of players in. We have got a whole lot of players in, not at the level that we want, of course. But it remains to be seen how most of them can play. But the reality, what's actually going to happen, how that affects Rangers, like deciding to almost write a season off because you're going to have to rebuild, and we do. And people are wanting to have a go at the board and all that for mismanaging the situation. Even the board's young, it's embryonic. I know it's no young men that are on the board. We don't have we've got to get a chief executive in. We don't have a director of football, whatever that, and we chairman acting as a CEO. We don't even have our own bloody stadium. We're not back to our stadium yet. It's pretty bad, but I think this is what happens. The actual what it entails, writing off a season, if you like, or saying that we're going to have to rebuild. We're going to have to. This is the reality of it. Celtic today, they beat us 4 times and did 1 draw at Ibrox last season. in the 5 times they played us. The last time we beat Celtic in a meaningful league fixture was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and it was Big Hollander, 1-0. And that was against Postacoglu. So that was at Postacoglu's first Old Firm game. And, we'd let Balogun playing at fullback that day. We had a few players missing. It was Robin McCrory in goals and stuff like that. And we totally, just was a tactical masterclass, if you like, that day from Stephen Gerrard's Rangers. And that meant that we had, the previous season, we had won 4 of the Old Firm games, one of them being in the Scottish Cup, and we'd drawn the other one, and it was at Parkhead of the 5 Old Firm fixtures that season. And the previous one to that, we'd beat them at Parkhead, the kind of New Year's game, and this was basically 7 Old Firm games in the trot. We'd won 6 of them and drawn 1 at Parkhead. So we were exactly, if not a better situation than Celtic find themselves in today in their run at the Old Firm, and we were taught, and they turned it round. I know it's like, they turned it round, no us, but this is how it changes. It changes. This is the way it's going all over Europe. This is the way football's going in general just now. I remember when, talking to the little general, we lost 6-2 at Parkhead. We lost 6-2 at Parkhead, and that was the marquee result. That was the one that just changed things for Martin O'Neill's Celtic, changed things for Celtic under Martin O'Neill. We'd won the treble and the double in the previous seasons. And we lost 6-2 in that game, but we'd actually won 4-0 in the previous Old Firm game, and we won 5-1 in the next Old Firm game. So there's 3 Old Firm games in the trot that were won by 4 clear goals. So it's exactly the same. But because Celtic managed to get the 6, they scored. It sounds worse. We'd scored 2 that day, and actually we had another goal disallowed. And there was a point early on in that game where we could it could just have been like a massive 4-8 straw or something like that. But 3 get 4-0. But that's what happened. Suddenly that never happened when I was a kid. Somebody was dominant, and even then, when they were dominant, they would struggle. They would struggle to really pace the other side of the Old Firm. We didn't get big hammerings like that. It's become a more recent thing, and also that's merged into periods of dominance. It's just like Martin O'Neill Celtic we'd won the treble, then the double, and then Martin O'Neill Celtic won a treble the following season, and then we got Alec McLeish in, and he won both the cups, and then the next season he won the treble. This was all like in a kind of 5-6 year period. It was going from we're winning everything to we're winning nothing. We're whitewashing the Old Firm game to we can hardly get a result. And this was affecting both sides. It was back and forth. And I think the advert that's the start of the Champions League era and the money that's coming from that. Scottish football was a lot more skint than it was then comparatively, but it's the way it's all got. Like Bayern Munich, remember Bayern Munich beating Barcelona 8-2, and it was during the COVID season. It was a one-off game. They had a one-off quarter-final in Lisbon on neutral territory, but that was like Messi and that was playing for Barcelona, and Bayern beat them 8-2. And they went on to win the Champions League that season. And like the years before that, I think it was like 2012, 2013, Bayern would do this thing where they spanked Real Madrid 7-0 in aggregate, and then Real Madrid the following season spanked them, and they gubbed Barcelona home and away, and then Barcelona would gub them, and it would be Bayern would win the Champions League, Real Madrid would win the Champions League, Barcelona would. When they're dominating, you're really dominating. You don't just you get it. You get this wee bit right. More right than your opponent, and then you maximalise it. It becomes like maximalist type kind of football. Like Juventus, what was it? They're in Serie B, and then they're winning 9-10 in a row. It's something that never happened in Serie A. You're lucky if you retain Serie A. When I was a kid, it's Manchester City. I know they've got all sorts of money. Never mind the Champions League money from evil sources, but 4 in a row. The English title has never been won 4 in a row. And Manchester United were winning 3 in a row. They were winning 3s and stuff like that, up not like 10 years earlier. But it was Huddersfield in the 20s and Arsenal in the 30s. And I remember Liverpool doing it 82, 83, 84, I think it was. And that was like my early teens. And that was it. That was the only time the English title would have been won 3 in a row. And there's Man City. Man United started doing it regularly. And then Man City have taken it further last season. It's 4 in a row for them. The levels of dominance. Bayern Munich, 11 in a row or something, Bundesligas, and then not only did they lose to Bayer Leverkusen last season, Bayer Leverkusen don't lose at all domestically. They win everything domestically. Are undefeated domestically and get to a European final unbeaten. The only game they lost was a European final last season, and Bayern dropped to third. I think the VfB finished second. So it's kind of like you're dominating and then it drops away. So we've got to hope. What I'm trying to say here is this is how it happens. We did to Celtic exactly what they're doing to us just now. We did it to them 3 years ago. So we've got to hope that it's coming back round to that, and the only way to do that, I still think, is by letting this manager have the biggest thing to do. We might as well do it now because it's 3 years in the trot. What is the problem at Rangers? Since we lost Steven Gerrard, since Aston Villa came in and got him, I know the board didn't give Gerrard what he wanted. Did you think we were going to be able to give him enough to make him stay away from the English Premier League, the money Aston Villa were offering them? I don't know. Maybe, I think we were certainly negligent. Gerrard was negligent in that Champions League qualifying round against Malmo when we're winning the game on away goals and we're playing against 10 men. We still managed to chuck it. We don't know if we'd have won the playoff round, but that could have been on him. But he gets taken away, and then we're in a situation where this is our third. He's still not been here for a year. Clement's still not been here for a year. You might as well just break the pattern. We've had 4 different managers in the last 4 years, and I know he hasn't won an Old Firm game. That's terrible. That is Clement. It's absolutely terrible. We wanted a massive clear out. He's getting rid of all these players. Lundstrom, Goldson. You've forgotten the number of players we've got rid of. Ryan Kent last season, Morelos, McGregor, and all that. John McLaughlin. You can actually forget how many players we've got rid of this season, but you wanted rid of them all. James Tavernier, he was part of we couldn't get forward, we couldn't get backwards. We're going so slow today. He's our best. He gets the attacks going better than anybody else. Still at Park, he scored 3 of our last 4 goals at Parkhead. James Tavernier, he scored at Ibrox as well against them last season. He's still. If he makes mistakes that override that, of a level and number that override that contribution, then that's fine. He's definitely a lot slower this season. He's taking his time to get back to anything like full fitness. He might never do it, but I just feel maybe he's the last player you want to get rid of. He feels as if we've totally cleared, but he's the only player that hasn't been cleared out, if you like. Everybody else is new, and the manager's correct what he was saying. The Celtic team have been a bit longer together, they're more settled, they're just adding in the way you should add, just topping it up each season. They've got the money to do that. They're not going to get the Champions League money this straight away this season's. If they win the league as it looks like, they're not going to get straight into the Champions League next season. So something like that could start I feel as if we've just got to hang in there. I think we should. The one thing that we can change, we can make a difference in, is keeping this manager. And although it's a terrible thing, we've got to wait for 2 weeks to have a chance to play somebody again. Maybe the fact that it's 2 weeks will let them recover from this, so he can get back into them and get them ready to go out and win at Tannadice. Because it wasn't Gio get cuffed 4-0 and 3-0 in the space of 9 months at Parkhead, and took us to a European final in between times. I just feel as if we keep Clement, give him as long as he doesn't. It was the St Johnstone games and things like that. It was the games in between times we just didn't look the business at all. We looked like we're falling to pieces, drawn with St Mirren, stuff like that. It wasn't good enough. Gio against anybody, it got to the point where it wasn't just like Celtic have got better players, they've got more money, and they've been given us a swift down. We couldn't play against anybody, and the same thing happened under Michael Beale. Aberdeen are beating us 3-1, a terrible Aberdeen team. We're going through their own traumas last season, beat us 3-1 at Ibrox. We're struggling to beat Motherwell and stuff like that. So I know Motherwell beat Clement's. There's mitigation for that. DM me, I'll tell you about that one. But if we need to make sure that he can beat Dundee United and then represent in the Europa League, maybe we'll get Celtic in the League Cup semi-final or final before we have to play them again towards New Year. We can get them November or December, you never know. So if you can turn that around, it'd be good. But I think it's just to see how he recovers from this. Come on, and we didn't have the Albanian number 10 coming into the team today. We'll need to see what difference he can make. But if nothing else, if we don't start generally collapsing against other sides, if we get back to Ibrox, and we can still show signs of general improvement and general competence, as we have been doing the last couple of games before today, then I think the one thing that we can change is change the pattern, is keep the bloody manager, keep the same manager. Oh, look at that. That's a really short one, 1 hour, 3 minutes. It's a State of the Nation address I'm doing here. Look, I'll just end with one thing. I was talking the last time we get beat off Dynamo Kiev. That was a horrible, horrible night as well when they beat us at Hampden. I was talking about how I loved going over the Kingston Bridge towards Hampden, going over the river and crossing that way, and all the beautiful things you would see. I love how I love Glasgow. I love the fact that I moved to Glasgow. And there was the Celtic fans today taunting me about that. They had the big St Mungo Deer Green place. It is indeed, but he's doing the Kilmarnock, the three fingers, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. That's on the Kilmarnock crest. So they're trying to say to me, I was talking about how I needed to move to Glasgow, and as a kid I decided I was going to move from Ayrshire to Glasgow, and Kilmarnock is my dad's team and my grandpa's team. So that was, but I was supporting Rangers, and that was nice. The Celtic fans to remind me of my Ayrshire roots that I was betraying with the old St Mungo thing. But the last time I was at Hampden, I was coming back over the river. No, from the south side. The south side, it's more real, isn't it? It's more real. It's got murals. It's more real. Ibrox is strictly speaking on the south side as well, but we're more West End. I mean, like Jacqueline McCafferty. I stay in Cessnock now. I stay in the West End. You got a problem with that? So we're more in the West. It's too on the money, isn't it? West End's too on. It's just too on the nose. It's just too. There's no realism to it at all. It's just too posh, too snobby. But that's what we call home. And the last time I drove over that Kingston Bridge on the way back from Hampden after that 6-0 win against Ross County, I looked left over. I looked west of that stretch of the Clyde up to the kind of Squinty Bridge. The Union Bells lit up red with the flares. After we won 55, and the kind of South Bank was the Challenge Cup, and the North Bank was Europe. The two things that got us back to the kind of level we should be at. And seen a crane, no cranes on the park. Walter Smith's dad was a crane operator. It was the Finiston Cran, another Lemmy sketch. The Finiston Cran. Just reminded us what we're all about. And I was talking about the cooperative wholesale building. It's got is it Light and Life, that gold. They just recently redone it up, or probably 10 years ago now. That big kind of gold statue in the dome on the left hand as you look over to that side of the city. But I saw the angel that's up in the building just where Jim Baxter's pub used to be, like Fiorentina, and you got the Angel pub. And I remember being in the Angel pub after Celtic beat us 3-0 at Ibrox. That was a rarity at the end of Martin O'Neill's first season in charge, and saying, these guys, Advocates team, these guys, Arthur Newman, Alberts, and Amaruso, they've got no fight. They don't understand. No Rangers team ever loses by 3 goals at Ibrox to Celtic. Things got a lot worse. I remember being there with friends after that, and just we're still supporting Rangers. Who cares? And it's just, I just think that day I was going over the Kingston Bridge. It was something beautiful. I was going to Hampden, lovely weather, and I come back over the last time, and I'm looking left, and it was clouds. It was clouds everywhere. You could just barely see in this stuff. You could hardly see Ibrox through the kind of mists and all that. Well, I looked over to the right hand side, towards the east as well as the south where Hampden is, and it was just blue skies. And you're thinking that's a bad omen. But it's boring. The other side of the city, it was far more interesting. I'm no Deer Green place. That's one thing, but I like the kind of concrete jungle where dreams are made of. Yeah, I would concrete the jungle, but it's the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, cranes, industry, and the lights, the Copeland Road, Edmondson Drive, Paisley Road West. These streets will make you feel brand new, and the big Ibrox lights, they will inspire you. The place where not the the city where my boy Biggie comes from, but the city where Rangers come from, the ground where we come from. Let's get back to Ibrox, and let's just stick with the team, stick with the manager just now. And next time we play Celtic, things will hopefully have changed a wee bit, because what the hell else are you going to do anyway? That's enough for me, folks, but this one can last you. You're not going to hear from me again for 2 weeks, so you can make the best of this one. And it's been a horrible day, but things have been a lot worse. And this is the last time we lost 3-0 at Parkhead in the league. We went on to the Europa League final.